We're still reading Fahrenheit 451, and if you watched my last video, we are starting off on the top of page 62. 62. 62, if I can find it. Okay, 62. And before that it says, "We stand" on page 61, so we're starting at the very top of 62. So here we go. We stand against the small tide of those who want to make everyone unhappy with conflicting theory and thought. We have our fingers in the dike. Hold steadily, don't let the torrent of melancholy and drear philosophy drown our world. We depend on you. I don't think you realize how important you are. We are, to our happy world as it stands now. Beatty shook Montag's limp hand. Montag still sat, as if the house were collapsing about him, and he could not move in the bed. Mildred had vanished from the door. "One last thing," said Beatty. "At least one in his career. Every fireman gets an inch." What do the books say, he wonders. Oh, to scratch that itch, eh? Well, Montag, take my word for it. I've had to read a few in my time, to know what I was about, and the book says nothing. Nothing you can teach or believe. They're about non-existent people, figments of imagination, if they're fiction. And if they're non-fiction, it's worse. One professor calling another an idiot. One philosopher screaming down another's gullet. All of them running about putting out the stars as extinguishing the sun. You come away lost. Well then, what if a fireman accidentally, really not intending anything, takes the book home with him? Montag twitched. The open door looked at him with a great vacant eye. A natural error. Curiosity alone, said Beatty. We don't get over-anxious or mad. We let the fireman keep the book 24 hours. He hasn't burned it by then. We simply come and burn it for him. Of course, Montag's mouth was dry. Well, Montag, will you take another later shift today? Will we see you tonight, perhaps? I don't know, said Montag. But Beatty looked faintly surprised. Montag shut his eyes. I'll be in later, maybe. We'd certainly miss you if you didn't show, said Beatty, sitting on his pipe in his pocket, thoughtfully. I'll never come in again, thought Montag. Get well and keep well, said Beatty. He turned and went out through the open door. Montag watched through the window as Beatty drove away in the gleaming yellow flame-colored Beetle with the black, char-colored tires. Across the street and down the way, the other houses stood with their flat fronts. What is it? Clarice had said one afternoon. No front porches. My uncle says there used to be front porches, and people sat there sometimes at night, talking when they wanted to talk, rocking and not talking when they didn't want to talk. Sometimes they just sat there and thought about things, turned things over. My uncle says the Archiettes got rid of the front porches because they didn't look well. But my uncle says that was merely rationalizing it. The real person, hidden underneath. Might be they didn't want people sitting like that, doing nothing, rocking, talking. That was like that. Doing nothing, rocking, talking. That was the wrong kind of social life. People talk too much, and they had time to think. So they ran off with the porches, and the gardens too. Not many gardens are more to sit around and look at the furniture. No rocking chairs anymore. They're too comfortable. Get people up and running around, my uncle says. And my uncle, her voice faded. Montag turned and looked at his wife, who sat in the middle of the parlor, talking to an announcer, who in turn was talking to her. "Miss Montag," he was saying, "this, that, and the other. Miss Montag, something else, and still another." The converter attachment, which had cost them $100, automatically supplied her name whenever the announcer addressed his anonymous audience, leaving a blank where the proper syllables could be filled in. A special spot Wavix Gambler also caused the televised image in the area immediately about his lips to mouth the vowels and consonants beautifully. He was a friend, no doubt of it, a good friend. "Miss Montag, now look right here." Her head turned, though she quite obviously was not listening. Montag said, "It's only a step now. Not going to work today. Not working tomorrow. Not working at the firehouse ever again." "You are going to work tonight, though, aren't you?" said Mildred. "I haven't decided. Right now, I've got an awful feeling I want to smash things and kill things." "Go take the Beetle." "No thanks. The keys to the Beetle are on the night table. I always like to drive fast when I feel that way. You get it up around 95 and you'll feel wonderful. Sometimes I drive all night and come back and you don't know it. It's fun out in the country. You hit rabbits sometimes. You hit dogs. Go take the Beetle." "No, I don't want to. This time, I want to hold on to the funny thing. God, it's gotten bitten on me. I don't know what it is. I'm so damned unhappy. I'm so mad, and I don't know why. I feel like I'm putting on weight. I feel fat. I feel like I've been saving up a lot of things, and I don't know what. I might even start reading books. They'd put you in jail, wouldn't they?" She looked at him as if he were behind the glass wall. He began to put on his clothes, moving restlessly about the bedroom. "Yes, and it might be a good idea before I hurt someone. Did you hear Beatty? Did you listen to him? He knows all the answers. He's right. Happiness is important. Fun is everything. And yet I kept sitting there saying to myself, I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I am." Mildred's mouth beamed. "And I'm proud of it. I'm going to do something," said Montag. "I don't even know what yet, but I'm going to do something big." "I'm tired of listening to this junk," said Mildred, turning from him to the announcer again. Montag touched the volume control on the wall, and the announcer was speechless. "Millie," he paused. "Millie?" He paused. Sorry, I kind of said that wrong. But anyway, "this is your house as well as mine. I feel it's only fair that I tell you something now. I should have told you before, but I wasn't admitting it to myself. I have something I want you to see, something I put away and hid during the past year. Now and again, once in a while, I don't know why, but I did it and I never told you." He took hold of a straight-backed chair and moved it slowly and steadily into the hall near the front door, and climbed up on it and stood for a moment like a statue on a pedestal, his wife standing under him waiting. Then he reached up and pulled back the grill of the air-conditioning system, and reached far back inside the right of moved still another sliding sheet of metal, and took out a book. Without looking at it, he dropped it to the floor. He put his hand back up and took out 2 books, and moved his hand down and dropped 2 books on the floor. He kept moving his hand and dropping books, small ones, fairly large ones, yellow, red, green ones. When he was done, he looked down upon 20 books, lying at his wife's feet. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't really think, but now it looks as if we're in this together." Mildred backed away, as if she had suddenly confronted by a pack of mice, and had come up that had come up out of the floor. He could hear her breathing rapidly, and her face was pale out, and her eyes were fastened wide. She said his name over twice, 3 times. Then, moaning, she ran forward, seized a book, and ran towards the kitchen incinerator. He caught her, shrieking. He held her, and she tried to fight away from him, scratching. "No, Millie, no! Wait! Stop it! Will you? You don't know! Stop it!" He slapped her face. He grabbed her again and shook her. She said his name and began to cry. "Millie," he said, "listen. Give me a second, will you? We can't do anything. We can't burn these. I want to look at them. At least look at them once. Then, if what the captain says is true, we'll burn them together. Believe me. We'll burn them together. You must help me." He looked down into her face and took hold of her chin and held her firmly. He was looking not only at her, but for himself and what he must do in her face. "Whether we like this or not, we're in it. I've never asked for much from you in all these years, but I ask it now. I plead for it. We've got to start somewhere. Here, figuring out why in such a mess, you and the medicine night, and the car, and me and my work. We're heading right for the cliff, Millie. God, I don't want to go over. This isn't going to be easy. We haven't anything to go on, but maybe we can piece it out and figure it and help each other. I need you so much right now. I can't tell you. If you love me at all, you'll put up with this. 24, 28 hours. Oh wait, never mind, I said that wrong. You'll put up with this. 24, 48 hours. That's all I ask. Then it'll be over, I promise. I swear. And if there is something here, just one little thing out of a whole mess of things, maybe we can pass it on to someone else." She wasn't fighting any more, so he let her go, and sagged away from him, and slid down the wall, and sat on the floor, looking at the book. Her foot touched one, and she saw this and pulled her foot away. That woman. The one night, Millie, you weren't there. You didn't see her face. And Clarice. You never talked to her. I talked to her. And men like Beatty are afraid of her. I can't understand it. Why should they be so afraid of someone like her? But I kept putting her alongside the firemen in the house last night, and I suddenly realized I didn't like them at all. I didn't like myself. And at all anymore. And I thought maybe it would be best if firemen themselves weren't burnt. "Guy!" The front door voice called softly. Miss Montag, someone here, Miss Montag, someone here," softly. They turned to stare at the door, and the books toppled everywhere in heaps. "Beatty," said Mildred. It can't be him." "He's come back," she whispered. The front door voice called again, softly. "Someone here." "We won't answer." Montag lay back against the wall, and then slowly sank into a crouching position, and began to nudge the book bewilderedly with his thumb, his forefinger. He was shivering, and he wanted above all to shove the books up through the ventilator again, but he knew he could not face Beatty again. He crouched and then sat, and the voice of the front door spoke again, more insistently. Montag picked a single small volume of the floor. "Where do we begin?" He opened the book halfway and peered at it. We begin by beginning, I guess." "He'll come in," said Mildred, "and burn us and the book." The front door